What's up YouTube, it's Adam from I'm a Music Mogul, and today I'm going to show you how to take those loops that you've downloaded from the internet and basically put them into Logic Pro, chop it up quickly, sample it, and then you can go ahead and take those samples and play out a whole new drum track for your production or for your songs, whatever it may be. And yeah, so basically you like some of those samples in the loop, but you don't particularly like the groove. Well, you can take those samples, individual samples, and then go ahead, create a sampler track, and then you can go ahead and play out your drums the way you want your drums to sound. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that right now in Logic Pro. The first things though we got to kind of figure out and find out before we do anything is find out and know the tempo of the loop that you kind of brought in. In this case, I know my tempo is at 90 BPMs, so I'm going to make sure that I set my Logic session tempo to 90 BPMs for this method to work properly. Now that we got that out of the way, you're going to set your division time, which is down here. Now my division time right now is set at 8s, but for this drum loop, I know I didn't hit play yet, but I've heard it before. I know it's going to be better at 16th value, so I'm going to go ahead and change that. And by the end of this video, you'll understand kind of the difference and why you'll change it. But basically, want to go ahead and hit play out this drum loop. Take a listen to the actual samples itself and how close they are together. That will kind of determine if you use a 16th value or an 8th value. And take a listen to where you have actual clean sample. You don't want a sample that is layered. So let's say there's a kick and a hi-hat in the loop. You don't want those two to be on top of each other. You want to find samples in that loop to be isolated so you can mix it properly when it comes to your mixing stages. So I'm going to go ahead and play and stop talking and we'll listen to this drum track. Alright, so in there we do have a clean kick, a clean clap, a clean shaker. Now if you didn't catch it, it's because I only played it twice, but I've heard it before, so I kind of know. So first step we got to do is bring in a scissors tool. So to do that, we hit escape on our keyboard. Go down to our scissors tool. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in right here so I can see the grid value better. And what we're going to do is basically find our first grid line, which is right here. That's our start one, the first grid line. Hold down our option key until you get this little plus sign on your scissors tool and kind of cut right on that grid line. What Logic will do now is basically take that cut and apply it for the whole region right there. So basically what we just did right there was sample that track very quickly by chopping it up by 16th value. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit Apple A on my keyboard to select all of them. Right click, and go to convert to new sampler track. Now what I like to do is you can go ahead and name your instrument right here, and then you can basically set your note range, the start and end of it. What I like is kind of the C0. That's why I like to start my sampler tracks on, so I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Logic will go ahead and place it into a EXS sampler track, so you can go ahead and play that out phonetically as you would a basically like a Rex file. Alright, so what we want to do now, because we don't like that groove, we want to create a better groove, our own groove that can match our production style. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this region right here. And basically if you have a keyboard plugged in, you can play it on your keyboard. But for this tutorial, I'm going to bring in my virtual keyboard so you could see that I'm playing it out the way we want to play it out. So right now I've got to make sure that my octave is set properly, which I am. I'm on octave 0, that's what I set the beginning of this drum track to be placed on. So now I can go ahead and play out my keys. As you can see, they are individual samples. Beautiful, huh? So now what we do is basically, like I said, you want to find in that sample basically clean kicks, clean claps, clean shakers, whatever it may be in the drum loop. You want to find clean versions of that sample so you can go ahead and mix that properly. So right here, I think it was here, I have a nice clean shaker. It has a little bit of a click at the end, but we can adjust that later. Here's a clean clap, and I believe here it is. My clean kick is right here, so you can go ahead and play out a new drum track. So as you can see, you can take those samples from that loop, quickly chop it up, and create a new sampler track, and then kind of record it yourself with a new groove using those samples from the track that you sampled. It's actually really fun, and this is also a way that you can actually create your own database of drums from loops, from songs. You can actually drag in a whole song from the radio and basically go through that song and chop up what you want and create a sampler track like I just told you. It's very simple, Very clean, and actually it's a good quick way to create new EXS instruments as well. So if I go ahead here, and also a thing to keep in mind is if you want to save your track, save your instrument track, it's a good way too. Just go ahead here. Oops. Go ahead here and go save setting as, and this will always be in your EXS24 library. Alright, so like I said before, I'm just going to go ahead and hit undo on everything I just did. So I'm going to show you the difference between a 16th grid value and an 8th division time value. So I'm going to go ahead down here and change this to 8th. Now what that will do is basically for this drum loop, the 16th works properly. I just want to show you the difference between the two. Now what 8th does, basically, as you can see, it stretches out your cuts a lot more. And the problem with this is on this particular drum loop is that you're going to actually have doubling of samples. So basically when I hit a key, and if I hold the key, you're going to have more samples on one key when you're playing out, which is fine because you can change the settings in EXS24 to kind of trigger or hold, sustain, whatever. You can change it up. But for the most part, you don't really want that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Option, hold down the Option key. Oops. First, got to bring in our scissors tool. So hit Escape. Bring your scissors tool, hold down the Option key on your first grid line, cut. Again, Logic will place it all on it. I'm just going to move a little faster here since I already showed you. Hit Apple A on your keyboard, right click, go to Convert to New Sampler Track. Hit OK. Logic will do its thing. And then there it is right there, again, played out phonetically. But I'm going to go ahead and bring in my caps lock keyboard right there, which is the virtual keyboard. Hit caps lock on your keyboard and make sure my octave is correct, which it is at 0. Oh. I'm going to go ahead and hit play right here. So as you can see, there is less pops on my samples here that I chopped up, but you are getting a little bit of extra stuff that you don't really want. But if I kind of just trigger it, it kind of works out properly. All right, so here's my my kick right here. Here's a clap, kind of clean. If I hold it too long, it's no good. So I'm just going to kind of trigger it once. And here's a shaker. So as you can see right there, you can go ahead and play out your drums properly. But like I said, for the most part, on your drum loops, you're going to want to use a 16th division time value because that is what's going to work nicely when you chop it up and throw it into an EXS24 sampler track for you to create your own drums nicely from those samples. So if you have any questions on this, you can ask me in the comment section. And as usual, more great videos always coming soon. So remember to subscribe, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Later.